This is another Michio Kaku deepfake from this channel, Cosmic Haven. Here's the date it was posted, December 5th. This is the most serious, most alarming. There is the title. This is a blockbuster story. What bothers me is, of course, it's a deepfake of Michio Kaku. There's the URL up at the top. You can stop at the ampersand t equals 540. But what bothers me is there's no dates, no times, no references to the things he's talking about. Although, this same story eerily similar to one a few months back where SpaceX allegedly launched an intercept probe to 3I Atlas. And then it's mixed with this. It says that the Atlas has approached to within 600 miles of Earth in what's called the dark satellite orbit, where we also know of some other two satellites that we can't keep track of that allegedly orbit at 600 miles up, which is also the geostationary orbit, which is also where we park things like the James Webb Space Telescope and Hubble. So, listen to this. You make the decision. You should go listen to this whole thing yourself.
Now here's where this gets absolutely wild. The Rubin Observatory detected smaller bodies accompanying 3I Atlas. Dark, fast-moving, geometric, too dim for visible reflection, too cold for thermal signature, but betraying themselves through light occlusion patterns. 3 of them at first, then 5. They moved in formation, matching 3I Atlas's velocity vector with uncanny precision. Escort craft, or probes, or something equivalent. Their movements displayed no drift, no wobble, no error bars. It looked like a convoy. At that moment, NASA understood the magnitude of what we were facing. 3I Atlas was not a rogue rock tumbling through space. It was the centerpiece of a structured arrival. Something was coming, and it was organized. In the decoding room, signal analysts expanded the frequency search. That's when we realized the pulses were not broadcasting outward indiscriminately. They were focusing inward, toward the inner solar system, toward us. The messages grew stronger every time 3I Atlas completed a maneuver. As though each new trajectory brought clarity to the transmission, we discovered sidebands, whispers layered beneath the primary signal. They carried harmonic distortion.
So you can go listen to the whole thing. Trouble is, there's no dates, no times. And what is more concerning is that what it says in the end. You need to listen to it. It says it adjusted Earth's magnetic field and then just went away. Left that orbit and headed back out into space back towards the heliosphere of Jupiter and the Earth, the Sun's intersection. Now what this implies is that 3I Atlas was at the heliosphere of Jupiter, then came in, did this alleged adjustment, and then went back out. It's possible, but it's a story I've heard in varying degrees from other channels. These deep fake bullshit channels are really irritating because they put the face of someone who's famous up there like they're saying something, and then it could very easily be an AI concocted lie. I don't know what to say except that 3I Atlas itself is real. What it's doing is being hid from the general public. General media is not reporting on it, partly because they really can't, because there's too much lying going on out there. Although this here is accurate. 3i Atlas is not a comet. Never has been. The armada of ships following it have been reported on long ago. At one point it was 10,000. It may still be 10,000. Another video after this reports that Earth is about to orbit into the toxic soup that 3i Atlas has left behind. So, you know, you can't have it both ways. It can't be here to help and repair the Earth, and then at the same time leave behind a toxic soup we're about to orbit into and through for the next 7 months, as the video next so speaks. What's BS is these monkey channels that keep on with these AI deep fake stories. You don't know who's behind it. Every now and then one of them will respond to a comment and reveal the actual username of the person behind the channel. But that doesn't mean anything, except that sometimes it is an email address by adding gmail.com to that username. Sometimes not, but most of the time is. This is all about YouTube advertising money. They just want to capitalize on the sensationalism. People call it clickbait. But you don't have to click on anything other than the video itself or let the video run, because YouTube will then insert ads. They'll get paid for those ads. The longer they can make the video, the more money they will make from putting up any old story. And I think YouTube doesn't really care, because they get paid for injecting the ads from the advertiser. Now this is the end result. The URL's up at the top there. Same video. But listen to this.
Instructions for stabilizing a dormant magnetic anomaly. Earth has carried for millennia an anomaly whose fluctuations align with mass extinctions, climate upheavals, geomagnetic avalanches. The triplet wasn't a code. It was a calibration sequence, a repair algorithm. The beam wasn't harvesting energy, it was tuning us. Yet the final decoded fragment was brutally simple. Preserve the cradle, prepare the path. We debated its meaning for hours, days. Was Earth the cradle? Was humanity? Or was the message older, addressed to whoever lived here long before us?
Doesn't matter. Preserve the cradle, prepare the path. If anything, that refers to Nibiru returning and the Anunnaki. It would make more sense, because this object is not some ancient interstellar thing that came from where we think it came from, because we backtracked, calculated its trajectory. It, much like those objects following it, was moved to a position in total darkness. You can't see anything in space that doesn't reflect sunlight. And then fire it up. It's showtime. It turned on the lights and the sirens and everything and started moving like it was a comet coming in from interstellar space. The bottom line is pretty simple. Okay, if this happened, it's already happened. It's come and adjusted the magnetic field, saying that Earth was about to have another calamity. Another Michio Kaku deep fake But what it says in the first 15 seconds, you'll want to hear, because we've been saying it for quite a while. And apparently somebody's finally read the comments. Here's the date it was published. And here it is.
Molecular seeds of life. In mere months, our planet will drift directly through the cosmic breadcrumbs it leaves in its wake. NASA tells us this comet is now bearing down on us for its closest approach, and every major telescope on Earth.
Okay, this is, you can tell this can't be Michio Kaku, because everything he's saying is improper. 3i Atlas is not bearing down on us. We are approaching it. It's, if it does turn and come towards us, we'll know it. But what he said about the cosmic breadcrumbs of life. Okay, look, let's be blunt about it. A toxic soup is left behind. Nickel vapor, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and cyanide. That's what we're going to drift through. There's the URL. You're welcome to go listen to the whole thing. Okay, here's the SpaceX version of the story. Same story from Michio Kaku's deep fake about adjusting the magnetic field of the Earth. This is about the SpaceX mission that launched to intercept 3i Atlas. There's the date it was posted, September 17th, 2025. There's the title. And there's the URL up at the top. You can stop at the ampersand T = 150. Just going to jump a few minutes in. And if indeed this happened, the same thing happened that the story just said happened when they got close to it. 3i Atlas bumped it off and shut down all the instruments. And then they lost contact with it completely. That's the only difference. And you're welcome to go listen to the whole story. It talks about the Frankenstein put together probe in a hurry and going balls to the wall to intercept the thing as it was coming in. And anyway.
Someone said, "We're going to chase it." The urgency wasn't about danger, but about possibility. The closer 3i/ATLAS got to the sun, the more active it became. Its tail lengthened. Its coma glowed. It was waking up, and that meant one thing. The window for close interaction was shrinking. Behind the scenes, Musk gave the green light to start exploring mission feasibility. Not a massive crewed craft, but a microprobe, or better yet, something small, fast, and expendable. Something they could strap onto a Falcon 9 and launch before the end of the summer. "Let's stop being observers," Musk reportedly said, "and become participants in the interstellar age." Mission planning. Can we actually catch it?
So, you can listen to the whole story yourself. And, of course they could catch it because it's an interception. It's not a chase. You have to understand, something coming sideways at you and you're coming at perpendicular angle, of course you can T-bone it. You can intercept it, based on whatever speed it's coming, based on whatever speed you can generate. Yeah, you can intercept it like a T-bone. So, yeah, it's likely this did happen. Now, I don't know. Everybody's lying. The bottom line is very simple. What Michio Kaku's deepfake said before this, the two of them before this, is relevant. It's left a toxic soup in Earth's orbital path. Preserve the cradle. Prepare the path. Okay, well, when we go through that toxic soup, yeah, Earth will be preserved and much of animal life on Earth may be dead. You think what you want. Hope I'm wrong. Okay, here's Mr. British AI again. There's the title. There's a URL up at the top. You can stop at the ampersand t equals 3420 because it's going to jump to near the end where he appears to say 3i Atlas basically has cloaking technology. And he describes it in other ways, but what it is cloaking technology.
Between Earth and a distant star field in Pisces, several observatories noticed a brief gravitational lensing event. That wasn't unexpected. The object's mass, even after revised estimates, was still enough to trigger some background star distortion. What was unexpected was the shape of the lensing. It wasn't a smooth arc, it was angular. Instead of a symmetrical circular distortion, the classic Einstein ring, observers recorded a multi-phase flicker, split across discrete intervals. The starlight didn't bend gently. It shimmered, stopped.
So, I'll play a few more minutes, but he just can't get to the point and say this is, in essence, cloaking technology.
Resumed, as though it were being blocked by a structure, not just curved by gravity. That raised alarm bells. Microlensing is supposed to be predictable. It reveals mass by the way space curves. But here, it looked as if space was being sliced, with straight-line occlusions and abrupt reappearances. Multiple independent teams using different equipment and viewing angles confirmed it. At first, the data was dismissed as a sensor glitch, but the pattern repeated. Roughly 90 minutes later, as 3i Atlas passed behind a second set of background stars, the same angular occlusion occurred, this time with an even sharper signature, and it wasn't just one blip. There were 3 distinct phases, each lasting no more than a second, each blocking specific star groups in an unnaturally segmented pattern. It didn't behave like a dust cloud, it didn't scatter the light, it cut it. Astronomers began modeling the...
So, at this point, astronomers probably don't realize it. They look like idiots. Here's probably one of the better narration videos I have heard yet. Even though it doesn't commit, it does commit to the fact that 3i Atlas is not a comet. These astronomers are effing idiots who are afraid of their own shadow and won't commit to a theory and then explore that reality. There's a date it was posted. There's the URL up at the top. I'm going to play just a few minutes of the very beginning of the video, and it's bold in what it says. For once. Let me tell you what 3i Atlas is, I believe. It is a ship covered in rock. Because after all, in space, weight doesn't matter. There's no gravity to really affect the ship to the point that it's going to matter, especially if it has a warp drive. All it does is put up a defense that, hey, don't worry about me. But it does have up to 10,000 objects trailing it. And they're not trailing chaotically. They're in good unison. So, it's clearly a ship. If it's not a ship, and you say it's a ship, and you're wrong, no harm, no foul. If it's not a comet, and you keep saying it's a comet, you walk right in to Little Red Riding Hood.
On November 30th, 2025, Hubble photographed something that shouldn't be possible. a 60,000 kilometer teardrop pointing straight at the sun. NASA called it a tail. They were wrong. What you're looking at isn't gas or dust being blown away by solar wind. It's a swarm of solid objects, holding formation against every law of physics we thought we understood. The prediction came true within 1%. That kind of accuracy doesn't happen by accident. And here's what nobody's saying out loud yet. 3I Atlas might not be traveling alone. Stay with me until the end, because what we're about...
So, in 42 seconds, he gets to the point. But here's the extrapolation further of the point. That same tail, pointed towards the sun, in the general direction of the sun, crosses into spraying into Earth's future orbit. Whatever it sped out in that tail and the coma is sitting, waiting for Earth to orbit into and through it. We won't know for a few months what it is. It's something that wasn't there before. This is another one of those sleepy explorer, dreamy sleeper, whatever they call themselves, narration video. They're seeking to be so dramatic. But this one is a little bit different because it references that there was a SpaceX mission. It doesn't call it SpaceX. There's the date it was posted. But there was a SpaceX mission. You can Google SpaceX launches or Elon Musk launches to 3I Atlas, and then this happened. And unless someone has taken it down, you'll find the full story of the SpaceX mission. Cadence has sped up a little bit, but notice, this is still friggin' AI. And I don't know who's generating this garbage, but you know what it says still has value, but the way they're presenting it is they might as well be monkeys swinging from the trees. Who, literally, who is doing this shit? Look at the splash here. 3I at last with a T. And throughout the whole thing, that's what he says. At last. Okay. Some errors are just friggin' ridiculous. So, there's the URL up at the top. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're going to just jump around. You're welcome to go look it up yourself. The main story about this is, it appears they're finally coming to the realization there is no way this is a natural comet. They still keep saying it's millions and billions of years old. Well, that's BS too. It's brand new. It was towed or moved to a certain part in space. And then it's like, light them up, fire it up, start the run. All the dummies on Earth will then calculate the trajectory back and think it came from this direction, which is what they've done. Then they extrapolate, oh, it's got to be billions of years old because there's nothing between here and there. And so it must have traveled. And then they extrapolate, oh, it's hardened from all that long distance. Oh, come on, dick brains.
Time the equation settled, 3 Atlas still came back with a line that seemed too neat to aligned with Earth. Far from the sun, small discrepancies appeared in the velocity vector of Atlas' tiny sideways pushes that resisted easy explanation. line gently intersecting the curve of Atlas. The plan was simple: arrive first, float quietly, and let 3i Atlas reveal what kind of environment it carried around itself. As the vehicle closed the last millions of kilometers, the space near 3 Atlas began to feel wrong. Sensors that had seen only quiet vacuum suddenly reported gradients, gentle slopes in energy and direction that all pointed back toward Atlas. The field instruments traced a boundary, a soft rise in intensity that wrapped in a smooth shell around 3 Atlas.
In other words, 3i Atlas, not Atlas. 3i Atlas can bend space and time. Its propulsion is very likely a warp drive. That's how they propel. That's how the UFOs we have here on Earth propel themselves. They bend space in front of it and fall into it. They maintained that this was a rock for so long. These idiots have missed the whole picture. He mentions in here that it tangents Earth's orbit. What he doesn't mention is its coma and its tail pointed towards the sun just spewed a poisonous, noxious soup all throughout that area of space that Earth is about to orbit into. That doesn't blow away. The solar wind does not blow that away. The only way the solar wind blows anything is if one of the charged particles directly contacts something and gives it a nudge. The nickel is nickel vapor, not nickel chunks. Carbon monoxide has almost no mass compared to be pushed. The CO2, similarly so also. And the same with the hydrogen cyanide. It's going to just be sitting there waiting for Earth to orbit into it. When that moves from the area of less concentration or from the area of more concentration to less concentration, people are going to die because it's going to poison the atmosphere. And it's just hard to believe or hard to imagine that that big of a load of noxious soup is spewed out there waiting on us to orbit right into it. And we're just on the ride. We can't stop Earth and say, whoops, don't go into that. No, we're going to go into that. Let's go a little further. He's talking about the mission here.
To navigation, the region behaved as if Atlas had drawn an invisible contour through nothing, a surface with no matter but a clear edge. When the vehicle crossed that contour, tiny deviations appeared in timing beacons and gyros that looked back toward Atlas. Clocks slipped by, microseconds, Star Trackers near.
Alright, let's move on.
Toward new questions about how Atlas was being driven. Hubble's sharp vision finally separated the bright blur of 3i Atlas into a core and a surrounding cloud. At the center of Atlas, the supposed solid nucleus resolved into a tiny point far smaller than many had guessed. Calculations showed that the core of 3i Atlas was only a few kilometers across a grain inside a lantern. Less than 1% of the total light came directly from that kernel.
Don't know if you should trust that either. 3i Atlas is a little Red Riding Hood. It's I should say Earth is the Little Red Riding Hood and 3i Atlas is the wolf. We're so stupid. It can just dress itself up to be anything. It can tell us it is anything, and we have no choice but to believe it. Let's go to the end.
Almost everything around Atlas. In the end, the hypothesis about 3 Atlas remained formally unproven but impossible to ignore. That unresolved status pushed the discussion of Atlas toward a new phase where clear tests would be needed to separate imagination from measurement. In the end, the debates about 3 Atlas narrowed down to a simple, quiet question. Could a few clear measurements taken in time tell whether Atlas was merely strange or truly orchestrated? Teams proposed...
Still dumb as a fuck. Still not catching on. Go watch the whole thing yourself. It's one that is actually worth listening to. And this one is short, as you can see. It's only, what is that? 39 minutes? Finally, after being told that his damn videos are too long, they finally cut them down to what they should be. And still, they can be shorter than this. Because it's technically 40 minutes, because 39 minutes and 59 seconds is 40 minutes. This whole 3-Eye Atlas thing is the biggest hoodwink that's going to kill a lot of people either way it goes. If it doesn't come at Earth, then when we orbit into the soup, people are going to start dying. And guess what? Nobody's going to understand why. It's going to take them a while to catch on. Most of the Earth will not catch on. If it comes at Earth and goes between the moon and the Earth, like one Chinese scientist said, it would cross within 78/100ths of a lunar unit. That's between the moon and the Earth. That's about 3/4 the way between the moon and the Earth. Then tidal effects, earthquakes, certainly supervolcanoes like Yellowstone will erupt. And pretty much all hell will break loose, and that will be the end of civilization. There'll be nothing we can do to stop it. The world, the Earth, is a powder keg. And many of the ancient aliens that did reside here, and some that are still here, abandoned Earth because they've known for a long time Earth is too volatile of a world to set up a long-term civilization on. It moves too much. It's too fluid. The tectonic plates float, the ice, the weather. It's too unpredictable to set up a long-term civilization. If the ice all melts, the oceans rise. If the ice age comes, the oceans go lower, but everybody will die because the ice age will kill people who aren't in any warm area. The only warm area would be the equator. And Earth's just a mess. Here's another one of those monkey brain, British voice, clip art narrations. It's not even a video because it's just clip art rolling around and he's talking. Or the AI is talking. Sleep science talks. Nobody, why do you want to waste somebody's bandwidth with your bullshit? December 1st is posted. And the only reason I'm playing any of this, so you can get the URL, which is there at the top. You want to go waste your bandwidth on it. And I'm going to jump to the part where he says the first thing that means anything. And be honest with you, I'm not going to listen to the rest of it.
But what if 3-Eye Atlas isn't just visiting? What if it was built for this moment? Its chemistry seems engineered for survival, its path calculated for discretion. In light of the most recent discoveries, the question might not be whether aliens exist, but whether they've learned to masquerade as comets. Settle in as we decode whether 3-Eye Atlas...
Well, of course, idiot. It's not hard to masquerade as a comet. You take your ship, you cover it in rock. I mean, down here on Earth, we call that sprayed concrete. It's very simple to make it look like a comet, move like a comet. And with a telescope, you're looking at it, and it appears to be a rock. from such a distance, we don't have that much resolution. But in totality, we don't have that much intelligence. So you're welcome to go listen to this whole pile of shit. There's the URL up the top. You can stop at the ampersand t = 30 seconds, because that's where I jumped into. And just to tickle you, let's just jump to the middle of it.
This was designed by physicist Francis Crick and chemist Leslie Orgel proposed directed panspermia, the hypothesis that life on Earth might...
See, so now he's talking about something that has nothing to do with 3i Atlas. It has to do with some other theory of how life comes to be. This is just a filler video. Let's move further down.
Generate detectable signatures through power generation, data processing, or communication activities.
So he wants you to listen for 2 hours and 2 hours and 6 minutes, while obviously YouTube plays ads and they get paid. So no, not going to do that. But what he said in the beginning was appropriate. Whether they've learned to masquerade as a comet, my God, it's not that hard. You take a spaceship, you cover it with rock. From a distance, it's going to look like a comet. Then just drive it like a comet and spray some stuff out the back so it looks like a comet. Make it do things that the humans will think it's a comet. It's not that hard to fool the monkeys on Earth. This is another one of those slow-talking BS 3i Atlas narrations. Because it doesn't show anything. There is no, it's just a bunch of clip art and an idiot. But he says something I want you to hear that is relevant. Presently, today on December 4th, 3i Atlas could do anything. They say it's aiming for Jupiter's keyhole. We don't know what it's going to do for Earth. It's supposed to come closest to Earth on December 19th. Isn't that so funny? Right around Christmas. People look up in the sky and might see a bright, what appears to be a star, and all the utterances of the word God are going to fall out all over the planet, out of people's mouths.
The clouds, it's unfolding in real time, in the same universe where you are lying right now. A visitor from another star system is approaching Earth and turning off its lights.
Yeah. I don't know why people keep calling it a comet, because it's not. It's not a comet. It's a ship covered with a rock, disguised to look like a comet. It's the cosmic version of Little Red Riding Hood. And we don't know what it's going to do, but we know what it already has done. It has spewed a lot of poisonous debris into the path of a future orbit of Earth. We can't stop Earth. It's going to orbit into it. And there's a soup of nickel vapor, cyanide, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide, CO2. When that permeates the atmosphere, it's going to leave a real mess. I don't know, but the concentrations are there. Nobody's talking about it. They've all just forgotten about it. That's how short-sighted humans are. They're chasing the future every 5 minutes. And what it did in such an innocuous way before it disappeared behind the sun was throw nails on the roadway. And Earth's going to have to go right through it. So think about that. Now you can go watch this guy's full slow talking narration. There's the URL up at the top. You can stop at the ampersand. And, you know, I don't know what to say. Here is the full title, and the date is posted. Here's one of those deep fake videos of Michio Kaku. This one is trying to explain some of the gassing from 3i Atlas. But I don't have any respect for these because they're deep fake monkey crap. Somebody's hiding, you don't know who's saying it. And what they say is value. Using a deep fake video image is insulting. This was posted December 3rd, 2025. I want you to just hear what it's saying about nickel.
Charlotte, North Carolina. It is traveling. It is exploring. It is seeing the world. Now you might be thinking, okay, so what? Different gases spread out differently. Big deal. But here is why it is a big deal. This is a direct violation of our standard sublimation models. If both gases were being released the same way, if they were just evaporating off the surface of the comet, like ice cubes melting on a hot day, they should spread out at roughly similar rates. Solar radiation hits them both. The physics should be the same, but it is not. Nickel stays tight. Cyanide spreads wide, which means the nickel isn't coming from the surface. It is coming from something else, something that breaks apart really fast. So where is the nickel coming from? Scientists have two main theories, and both of them sound like rejected band names. Theory number one, metal carbonyls. These are molecules where a nickel atom is bonded to carbon monoxide molecules. The most famous one is nickel tetracarbonyl, which has the chemical formula NiCO4. Say that 5 times fast at a party, and people will think you're either a genius or having a stroke. These molecules are super fragile, like sneeze too hard and they fall apart fragile. When UV light from the sun hits them, boom, they disintegrate instantly, releasing atomic nickel vapor. And that is why the nickel stays so close to the nucleus.
And that's what's important. Nickel vapor. Nickel vapor sprayed into the orbital path of Earth. Now, this is not Michio Kaku. And this is some other monkey writing this stuff. It may be technically correct. But he may be a scientist. But just like most of these scientists, they're all chicken shits. They don't want to put their face out there. They don't want to say this themselves. You know, they hide behind somebody else's voice and appearance usually without their approval. But the nickel vapor is toxic to humans. It isn't blown anywhere. It isn't blown by the solar wind. Solar wind is not wind. They keep saying it's not wind. It's charged particles that eject from the sun. And they're just charged particles moving. It is not a wind like you would fill a sail with a wind to push a boat across the water. It is charged particles going right past things. So the nickel vapor still sits there. When Earth orbits into it, it's going to permeate the atmosphere. It's going to tend to go from places of higher concentration to lower concentration, which would be our atmosphere. When we start breathing it, the nickel and the cyanide are both poisonous. I'm going to let you figure out the rest. You know, you can go watch this yourself. There's the URL up at the top, the date it was published. You can stop at the ampersand T=244 because that's where they jump to start into this. And I'm just kind of sick of these channels that, you know, they want to say something. And usually they say one or two things that's important, like what he just said. And then the rest is just fill time so ads can inject so we can get paid by YouTube. It's really quite disgusting. Okay, this is one of those slow talking, overly dramatic overly long, 1 hour, 42 minutes, video graphic piles of crap about 3i Atlas. It says one thing, makes one claim that's relevant. The name is there. This is from Sleepy Universe. Sick of these people. I really am sick of this. This is some kind of AI constructed crap. But what it says may well be true. But they don't identify who they're claiming is claiming this is what's happened. They're saying that now 3i Atlas has changed its trajectory, adjusted its course, so it's headed for Jupiter's keyhole, which is a way to drop into orbit around Jupiter. Either drop into orbit or slingshot around Jupiter to come back. Won't know until it happens, but just a few minutes of this.
Miles away. Jupiter's keyhole. You picture the solar system like a map you've seen 100 times. But the keyhole isn't on any map. It's an invisible boundary at the edge of Jupiter's gravitational domain. A region so narrow compared to the vastness of space that hitting it by chance is almost impossible. Statistically, the odds hover around 1 in 26,000. It's the kind of target you only hit with extraordinary luck or extraordinary precision. Most comets wobble, sputter, spin, drift. Outgassing kicks them sideways. Uneven lighting from the sun pushes them unpredictably. But Atlas didn't wobble. It didn't stumble. It slid onto a perfect line, as if guided by a force that knew exactly where Jupiter's unseen border lay. You imagine astronomers leaning closer to the monitors as the new trajectory arc unfolded. A clean, elegant curve, slicing directly toward a region no interstellar object has ever approached with this kind of accuracy. A region that pulls only a select few objects inward, while letting everything else drift by. And this visitor from another star was heading right for it. The thought settles into your mind with a calm weight, not frightening, not dramatic, just strange. Strange in a way.
It's just hard to take all this drama. It really is. It really is. These channels just will not just report the facts and leave it alone. So, it just appears 3i Atlas, which we know is not a comet. They keep referring to it against comets. They keep comparing it to comets. It's not a comet. It's an alien craft. Is headed for Jupiter, they claim. Going for the keyhole. Earth has a keyhole too. The last time we referred to Earth's keyhole was when Apophis, this huge meteor, asteroid that may turn into a meteorite that basically kills Earth. If it comes into the keyhole and doesn't have any propulsion, Earth will bring it in, down, and it's big enough to be a dinosaur-killing extinction event. 3i Atlas is a ship. To head to the keyhole is a way to put itself into orbit or slingshot around Jupiter and come back to Earth. This is for those who don't believe in the story of the Anunnaki. Title, channel, and date posted. Just a few minutes of this.
Sumerian tablets are probably one of the oldest form of a written record that we have.
What we're looking at here is a Sumerian tablet that actually shows the Tree of Life, flanked by divine beings. You can see here the Anunnaki on each side.
A machine, trained in the oldest language known to man, has just translated a clay fragment pulled from a ruined Sumerian temple.
They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation of human beings.
At first, researchers thought it was an ancient superstition, until AI cross-checked the phrases against real astronomical records. The match was too precise to ignore. Prime numbers, orbital alignments, geologic anomalies, all hidden in Sumerian lines, thousands of years old. That's when they realized this wasn't meant for ancient people. This was a message buried in clay for someone who could read through time. And now that AI has found it, we're about to become the first generation to truly understand it.
So, you get the point. There's the URL up at the top. You should go listen to the whole thing. So here's the answer to the quack. And take note, there's the title. This is Mr. Documentary Before Sleep, another one of these British voice, slow-moving BS channels that just are overly wordy. They're simply designed to, let Google inject ads. That's what it's all about. They just keep talking. But usually in the first 5 minutes, they say something relevant. Then after that, it's all repetitive, worthless. And, they want you just to stay tuned. And this was back on November 12th, 2025. So, give this a listen. See what you think.
And it repeated every 47 minutes with zero deviation. March 14th, 2025. Every telescope on Earth suddenly turned to the same point in space. Not because astronomers planned it, but because something out there started talking. For months, scientists tracked what they thought was just another interstellar object 3/Atlas. A cosmic wanderer passing through our solar system. Routine observation, standard protocol, nothing special, until it changed course. Objects in space don't just change course. Comets follow predictable paths. Asteroids obey Newton's laws, but 3/Atlas, it steered itself, and 3 days ago it sent a signal, not random noise, not natural radiation, a message, mathematical, deliberate, impossible to ignore. Right now, as you're watching this, 3/Atlas is still out there, still approaching, still transmitting. And humanity is listening to something we've wondered about for millennia. We are not alone. This isn't science fiction, this is happening. If this grips you...
So the question is, what is he talking about? What date is he talking about? Is he talking about March 14th, 2025? Is he talking about the date this video was published on November 12th? Just what is he talking about? So that doesn't really matter. But, this is how sloppy these channels are. Except he does give dates, times, and names, where the other guy did not. It was just all his opinion.
You the way it grips scientists worldwide, subscribe and hit that bell, like when you're ready, and tell me where are you right now. As you watch this unfold, let's go. So let's rewind to that moment. March 14th, 2025, 2:47 a.m. Greenwich. Meantime, Doctor. Sarah Chen is on her third cup of coffee at the Mauna Kea Observatory in Hawaii. It's a routine night shift. Boring.
See, you'll notice we don't need the
Actually,
drama.
She's monitoring deep space objects, comets, asteroids, the usual suspects drifting through the cosmic void.
Just wordiness.
Her job makes sure none
You can
of them
just
are on
talk
a
over him
collision
because
course
it's
with
not
Earth.
important.
Spoiler, they never are. Then her screen lights up, not with one alert, with 17 simultaneously. Every major telescope network on the planet, from the Very Large Telescope in Chile to the Arecibo replacement in Puerto Rico to the Square Kilometre Array in South Africa, they all detected the same thing at the exact same microsecond.
It gives dates and times and numbers.
And here's the thing about space observation that doesn't happen. Ever. Telescopes don't spontaneously sync up like some cosmic flash mob. Doctor. Chen's first thought, equipment malfunction. Her second, someone's hacking the network. Her third thought,
and here we go with wordy.
as she reached for the phone.
You can hear the AI.
This is real.
Doctor.
The signal originated from coordinates matching 3I/Atlas. The interstellar object, currently 2.4 astronomical units from Earth, that's about 223 million miles, roughly the distance from the Sun to Mars, not close but not comfortably far either. And the signal, it wasn't radio waves, it wasn't electromagnetic radiation in any conventional sense. It was gravitational wave modulation. Think of it like this. You know how dropping a pebble in water creates ripples? This object was creating ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. On purpose, in patterns, within 40 minutes, every space agency on Earth received the same data packet. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, ESA headquarters in Paris, Roscosmos in Moscow, CNSA in Beijing, ISRO in Bangalore. For the first time in human history, there was no territorial dispute, no classified information protocol, no bureaucratic delay, because everyone understood this wasn't about national security, this was about species security. The preliminary analysis came back in 3 hours. Dr. Marcus Webb from MIT's Kavli Institute later told reporters, and I'm quoting directly here, the signal's complexity was immediately apparent. It wasn't noise, it wasn't cosmic background radiation. It was structured, intentional, mathematically precise, and it repeated every 47 minutes with 0 deviation. 0 deviation. Natural phenomenon.
So, here we are, 4 minutes, 24 seconds in, and this is all he's going to say that's of any value, but let's just go for maybe another 30 seconds.
Phenomena don't do that. Pulsars rotate, but with slight variations. Quasars emit radiation, but irregularly. Even atomic clocks, humanity's most precise instruments, drift by nanoseconds. But this signal 47 minutes exactly, every single time.
You're getting the point now? Either he's lying, this channel, this AI reader is lying, and whoever is behind the copy of it is lying and just making up everything. Or 3I Atlas, back on March 14th, was clearly known was not a comet. So let's start out with a lying channel. Notice the title, Worst Case Scenario. Sleep Science Talks. And here's the date it's posted. But that's not the date that what he's talking about is in his talk. The guy, beyond the first few minutes where he asks all the questions, then goes on to try and say 3I Atlas poses no threat, no harm, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's going to happen. But he does never address what happens to those volatiles that 3I Atlas spewed while it was passing Mars and pointed its tail and its volatiles into Earth's orbit, which will be there for us to orbit into for the next 6 to 8 months, most of 2026. That's because he's short-sighted. Somebody or someone or even himself, this is an AI reader because it makes AI reader mistakes with numbers, and it makes AI reader mistakes that you can tell it's just a British voiced AI reader. Then there's the monkey crap of the fireflies and the fireside chat noise. See, this is how you don't take this shit seriously, but listen to what he starts out with, or it starts out with.
The speculation serves a legitimate purpose beyond mere entertainment. The worst-case scenario for 3i Atlas sounds insane until you consider this. What if it's not leaving? What if this flyby trajectory is actually a deceleration maneuver executed by technology we can't detect? Imagine an intelligence so advanced that mimicking natural orbital mechanics is child's play. A civilization that deploys surveillance assets disguised as comets, asteroids, even space debris. 3i Atlas's unprecedented speed and impossible chemistry might be signatures not of alien formation, but alien intention. As it approaches perihelion, hidden systems could be powering up, preparing for the next phase of whatever mission brought it here. Tonight, we'll venture into the speculative shadows where natural explanations crumble and cosmic paranoia takes root.
And there you have it. Less than a minute in, he's talking about old stuff. Perihelion. Then later on, he does mention October 29th. He mentions everything that's old about 3i Atlas. Or, let's say, the text-to-speech reader is reading from old copy. And the bottom line is, beyond these words right here, which is the correct postulate to take, the rest of it's all BS. 2 hours and 19 minutes of BS. Now, you're welcome to go listen to it, but this was the proper thing to start this video out with, because this is what 3i Atlas has done. It has scared everybody from making the postulation that it's not a comet. He wants to try and prove how it's a comet. But there's nothing about it that's a comet. And, you know, this is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. The cosmic version of Little Red Riding Hood. They have fooled all the little monkeys on Earth to being scared and saying, oh, it's just a comet. It's just a comet. If it's anything more, our minds are blown. Well, our minds are blown. Because what it's here for, and what it could do, and what it's already demonstrated it can do, in his various crap, where at 28 minutes in he starts to talk about the flip side, I wasn't going to listen any further. Because he spent so much time trying to prove it's just a comet. Well, it's already changed trajectory several times. It's already accelerated without any type of obvious means of acceleration. It's already decelerated without obvious means of acceleration. It's made course corrections. It's come close to the sun, where a solar mass ejection, coronal mass ejection, 3 of them, should have blown the thing apart if it were a comet. You know, it's full of CO2. The CO2 to water ratio is like 8-to-1. There's more CO2 in it. And then they talk about how it's billions of years old. And where it came from was in some kind of system where there's more CO2 than there is water. And all this other speculation crap. Well, in the first place, the first speculation that it's billions of years old, millions of years old, they don't know. You don't know. You just think when you first saw it and the trajectory it's on, and you plot back from where it must have come from, that's your solution. When the reality is, it's a rock. You wouldn't have seen it until it lights itself up and is heading in a certain direction. It could have been placed there, and then fire up the engines, Scotty. Turn on the lights, and then it starts coming. And all of a sudden, oh, look, it's coming from this area in the Come on. How stupid are humans? They're pretty stupid, actually. So, I don't know what to tell you. Let's go to 28 minutes in. 28:41. Let's start there.
Dismissal of unconventional ideas. If 3I Atlas were indeed some form of artificial construct, we would expect to see signatures that distinguish it from natural objects. Coherent radio emissions, for instance, might indicate onboard electronics or communication systems. Such signals would need to be clearly artificial in origin, not the random electromagnetic noise that all objects emit, but structured transmissions that couldn't arise from natural processes.
And yet, that's happened. So, either this is extremely old copy where he's speculating that it's harmless, and then we've now discovered that all of that has been proven true. We've now discovered that 3I Atlas surface is actually changing in a structured way. So, this guy, and there's your URL up at the top, and there's the full title, and there's the name of the channel, is a quack. You're welcome to go watch him if you want. This is a interpretation that 3I Atlas was headed for Jupiter all along. And I don't know if I agree with that, because there's the date it's posted, December 2nd. Because it isn't there yet. And it could go to Jupiter and just as easily slingshot around it, hook around it, and head right back to Mars or to Earth. So that's a little premature. But there's the URL up at the top. Stop at the ampersand, T equals 180. Because that's where we're jumping in, 3 minutes in. And he's going to say a few things of interest. And then, we're going to stop. Because this is another one of these long, hour and a half, wordy, videos designed to maximize ad dollars. That's what they are.
The answer begins with a number. If 3I Atlas were just a random interstellar comet, the odds that it would enter the solar system at the angle it did, swing past Mars and Venus as it did, and then line up to intersect Jupiter's hill sphere at its measured speed are calculated at about 0.04%. A few chances in 100,000. A number so small, you would ignore it on a lottery ticket, but not when it describes the path of something from another star. Somewhere on the far side of the sun, when no telescope on Earth could watch, 3I Atlas experienced a small, efficient change in its orbit. Not a wild kick. Not the messy push of gas blasting from a broken surface. Just enough of a nudge to send its outbound leg straight into that shell of influence. It is the kind of adjustment you would make if fuel were precious, if the journey were long, and if you cared only about where you ended up, not how dramatic the turn looked. Inside that invisible boundary lies a family of worlds with oceans locked beneath ice. Europa, with a saltwater sea deeper than any trench on Earth. Ganymede, rock and water and ice stacked in layers, carrying its own magnetic field. Callisto, cratered and ancient, hiding water under shattered crust. They are cold and quiet. No cities, no air to strip delicate molecules, no crowded biosphere to compete with. Just chemistry, energy, and time. If you were designing a way to spread something fragile, biology, nanotechnology, self-building machines, across a galaxy, these are the kinds of harbors you would choose. Not a noisy...
And he's dreaming. It says not a noisy planet already populated. Here, you listen to it. Here.
Oxygen-rich world, already full of life and chaos. But sealed oceans that have never seen sunlight. You would use stars as bends in the track, giant planets as brakes, hill spheres.
And he's right about that. Giant planets as brakes or slingshots. So what is really he's trying to say is he thinks, or this AI thinks, or this is what they're promoting, is that 3i Atlas is headed to Jupiter and was headed there all the time. He says it makes a change in its orbit. Okay, well, it's not an orbit. It's a trajectory. Okay. You know, anyway. And what he left out was that 3i Atlas is now mysteriously not spewing any volatiles anymore. Why is that? Because it already spewed them into the orbital path of Earth. When it passed by Mars, like he said earlier in October, it turned its little tail inward and it sprayed the future orbit of Earth with the nickel, the CO2, the carbon monoxide, and cyanide. We're going to orbit into that, and it will permeate the atmosphere. To what degree? I don't know what the concentration is out there. But it doesn't take very much to kill or make sick animal life on Earth. Nickel in the atmosphere is toxic. Cyanide is extremely poisonous. And, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide will cause the planet to heat fast. And carbon monoxide will take oxygen from the air and, tend to kill you. So, everybody seems to miss that, and let's hope I'm wrong. But it's an hour and 30 minutes. If you're on YouTube, you're going to get a bunch of ads, and they're going to make a bunch of money while they talk about a bunch of crap. This is King Wordy, the Dreamy Explorer. This says it's live. I don't know.
Thermal boundaries and synchronized modulation. This was no longer a cloud, it was a form, and forms have purpose. At exactly 0411 UTC on the morning of December 2nd, 2025, a small telescope network in northern Chile registered something unexpected. The object catalogued as 3i Atlas, a known interstellar visitor already steeped in anomalies, had changed. Not in brightness, not in trajectory, but in form. Its outer visual signature no longer resembled a traditional coma. Instead, what emerged was a clean shift in shape. Geometric, symmetric, and unmistakably intentional in its structure.
Just listen
what
to
had once
how
appeared
much
as a fuzzy,
he
diffuse
says.
comet-like halo
It's irrelevant.
now resolved into a boundary. The edge of the object became sharp, not in the way one expects from fragmentation, but as if something internal had reoriented. Adaptive optics caught what appeared to be an undulation, subtle, timed, and phase-locked to the pulse frequency recorded in the days prior. The object wasn't collapsing. It wasn't shedding mass. It was tightening. Telescopes in Hawaii and La Palma confirmed the observation within minutes. What they saw matched precisely. The edges of the light-emitting region were no longer irregular. They had stabilized into a shell-like formation that fluctuated in a smooth oscillation every 9 minutes, matching the documented light pulse cycle from November. It was the same rhythm, but now it wasn't just light. It was structural. This was not the behavior of a dust-rich comet losing cohesion near solar heat. It looked more like controlled contraction. And that distinction matters, because for the past 2 months, 3i Atlas has already exhibited patterns that don't conform to known cometary models, reflected light with phase-locked polarization, ultraviolet pulses without corresponding heat, and a non-gravitational acceleration aligned with solar eruptions. But this morphing event changes the stakes entirely. The data coming in from the solar orbiter made the picture even stranger. Instruments on board recorded a tightening in the object's outer infrared emission ring, a phenomenon that suggested not only structural change, but internal redistribution of temperature. The thermal gradient was shifting inward. A cooling core had begun to contract, while the outer shell displayed sudden brightness stabilization, completely the opposite of what a body undergoing heat stress or sublimation would show. From a physics standpoint, the morphing observed on December 2nd broke three core expectations. First, the symmetry. Objects under solar radiation rarely shift uniformly. They tumble, deform, and fragment chaotically. Not so here. The transition was smooth. Second, the pacing. The oscillation was matched in period to the 9-minute emission pulses previously detected, suggesting a feedback mechanism, not a random break. Third, the directionality. Rather than expanding due to thermal load, the object's energy signature suggested a gradual retraction of its luminous outer field. By midday, the James Webb Space Telescope had contributed confirmation in the form of layered diffraction analysis. The diffraction ring around 3I Atlas had narrowed, not because of a drop in energy, but because the emitting region had physically contracted. The shell radius was now smaller by an estimated 3.4% compared to just 36 hours prior, and still no debris, no tails, no jets, just shape change, clean and controlled. The term morphing entered the internal logs by afternoon. It wasn't chosen lightly. Comets don't morph, they disintegrate, they break. What we were witnessing was different, a transformation without material loss. A visual tightening that obeyed not chaos but rhythm. At Mount Lemmon, researchers compared this structural shift to adaptive regulation systems seen in orbital spacecraft. The shape change seemed to correlate with environmental inputs, solar flux, magnetic field density, and most notably observation timing. When Earth-based observatories aligned with peak pulse output, the shape change appeared most pronounced. Whatever is happening inside 3I Atlas began visibly unfolding on December 2nd. It did not explode. It did not scatter. It evolved. And that may be the most unnatural thing we've seen yet. In the early observations of 3I Atlas, it was easy to dismiss the object as just another interstellar comet. A slightly odd one, perhaps, but nothing extraordinary. Early imagery from one...
So that's where you have to ask yourself, just how dumb are these people? How much does it have to do before they stop comparing it to a comet? How much and how close and how dangerous does it have to become before they realize it's not a comet and to look at it in a different way? Now, this guy wastes everybody's time. An hour and 42 minutes this is going to go on. And this is only 9 minutes in. And we started at 5 minutes in. So in 4 minutes, he hasn't said enough. But what he said in 4 minutes could have been said in less than 1 minute had he not had all those wordy, filling words in there. The bottom line is this: 3I Atlas has changed. It has become more defined as a craft, not a comet. See, that's what you need to say. He said it's more reminiscent of a spacecraft in orbit. Duh. It's like what? Unfolding solar panels? Well, I don't think that. But it's doing things that comets don't do. Something is moving on the surface. Guns? I don't think that, but it could be. It could be high-powered lasers getting ready to fire at Earth. It's already fired a beam of light at Earth and pushed 3.2 gigabyte of data onto hard drives I don't know what to say except to hope it's not dangerous. Hoping it's not dangerous. Hoping it's not dangerous. Because by the time these dickheads realize that it could be dangerous, it'll be too late. You're welcome to go listen to his long wordiness. There's the URL up at the top. You can stop at the ampersand t = 300 because that's where we jumped in. 300 seconds, that's 5 minutes. And then you can spend your bandwidth. Because I can just tell you, all he's going to do is go on and on and on saying everything irrelevant.